let's study about block and inline elements. What is block and inline elements? Every HTML element has a default display value depending on what type of element it is. So what are those display values? There are total two types of display value. Okay, the first one is the block and the second one is the inline. Okay, these two are the display values. HTML always bifurcates the elements in these two types only to display it as needed. Okay, so now let's talk about the block. A block level element always starts on a new line. Okay, the first point is a block level element always starts on a new line and takes up the full width available. What does this mean? I showed you an example of the P tag, that is the paragraph tag. When we used 2 to 3 paragraph tags, we always noticed that the content in the first paragraph tag will display in the first line, the content in the second paragraph tag will be displayed in the second line, and when it's about the third paragraph tag, the content in the third paragraph will be displayed in the third line itself, right? That's the main concept of this line. And when you're using this, if you're giving a big sentence in a paragraph tag, it will use the maximum width available in the browser. It will be in a full line fetch until and unless the browser gets end or the width is to the max. Then it goes to the next line. Okay, this is about the block. Now, what are the block elements? Okay, address tag, then comes the article tag, then comes the aside tag, then comes the block quote, and then comes the canvas, and then comes the DD, and then the division tag, and then the DL, and then the DT, and then field set. Okay, and then fig caption, and then figure, and then the footer, and then the form, and then the H1 tag, and it really goes to this H6. Okay, and then the error, and then the H hard, then comes the LI, then comes the main, and then comes the nav, and then comes the no script, and then comes the OL, that is the order list, and then the P tag, and then the pre tag. Okay, pre. Okay, and then comes the section tag, and then comes the table tag, and then comes the T4 tag, and then comes the UL, and then comes the video. Out of these many tags, few will be taught to you in the upcoming videos and few are already taught to you. So I will show you an example with few which are not yet taught to you. So let's go for an HR. So what is an HR? HR is an horizontal line. It just gives an horizontal line. So the basic concept of block is it starts with a new line. Okay, so let's take some already used examples as well as some new tags and learn what is it all about. Okay, so now let's first start with the P tag. Okay, so I'll make use of a P tag and I'll write something like this is the explanation about the block elements in the HTML. Okay, and now I'll make use of an HR tag. HR. That's it. Okay, there's no close block for this. Okay, you just need to have an open tag. So let's run this. Okay, see, it is in the first line. Okay, as you got to know the p tag, and when I talked about it, I always told you that takes up the full width available, right? The full width available. So see the HR tag, the line, horizontal line is taking the full width available still here, okay? It's not in the half the way or in quarter of way or in 3/4 way, but it's occupying the full width available, okay? So let's even take some other example.
Now let's take an example of an pre-tag. Okay, before going on for it, let me explain what is an pre-tag. Actually, pre-tag displays the content as it is in between the opening and the closing p-tag. Now you may raise with the question that each and every tag over here does the same work, right? But the difference over here is when we write a content in a p-tag in different lines. For example, this is for page 1 and I write the second statement in second line. The p tag will not consider that it is in second line, so we should display it in a second line. It will just continue it in one single line itself, because it's not bothered about the space or neither the enter or it's in a new line or in some other thing. No, it just enters the every content, it just displays every content in a single line itself. But when it comes to pre-tag, it always considers that whether the content is in a new line or any spaces there in between and all. So let's see an example for that. See, now this is an explanation about the block elements in HTML. This is the first content which is there in the pre-tag, right? So I'll do for enter and I'll enter another line like next will be inline elements in HTML. Now there is an enter, means there's this line is in the second line of the content and there's a tab also between here, but p tag will not consider this and it will display this both the lines in one single line itself. So let's run this. Okay, see, the next will be the inline element. This content is also displayed continuingly. There's no break or the line is not displayed in the second line. But when we make use of a pre tag, it will be displayed in the second line. So let's see. Okay, so I'll just copy paste the sentence. Okay, now let's run this. See, the both of them are in different line as well as in space is there between here. Why? Because I have given a tab before writing the next line, right? So that not only the space, but it will even consider the space in between also. See, even the space between the inline and the elements is been considered. Okay, this is the difference between the rest of the tags as well as the pre-tag. Okay, I will even give you another example. Let's go for nav tag. Okay, what's nav tag? Nav tag basically means navigation tag. Means where you would have always observed in every website there is a navigation bar at the top, right? So that navigation bar is done with this nav tag. So even let's take example of that nav tag. So I'll start with the nav. Okay, and I'll have an anchor tag. href is equals to index.html and I'll give this the name as HTML. Okay, and I'll close the tag, and this I'll take another one also is equals to link/link2.html and let me give the naming as HTML2. Okay. Now this both the lines or this HTML and HTML2 will be in the top of the website. This is a navigation bar. Okay, actually the nav tag is mainly used for indicating that navigation bar. Okay, now just run this. See, we got the both. Okay, so when we click on it, it will go to the respective page which is linked with it. Okay, now let's go for the next one, that is the inline. Okay, as I said, in block it always starts with a new line, but for inline it is exactly an opposite. Okay, an inline element does not start on a new line and only takes up the space as required. Okay, the difference in both is that when it is about the block, it always starts with a new line, right? It always starts with a new line. We just saw an example. When it comes on inline, it will not start with a new line, but it will continue as it was done with the p tag. Okay, and the second important thing is when it is of block, it always takes up the full path available. I already showed you the example of HR tag, right? So it will always take the full path available. See, it's taking the full path available. But when it comes on the inline, it will not take the full path available. It just takes the space which is required for it. If you're typing a 3-letter word like hi, H-I-I, okay, so when you write an hi, it will just take that space which is required for that letter hi or that word hi. Okay, now what are the tags associated for this inline? Let's see that also. A means anchor tag is also there. B bold, big, and even button tag is there, and then cite, and then comes the code tag, and then the EM, and then comes the I, that is italic, then comes the image tag, and then comes the input tag, and then comes the label tag, and then comes the map, and then the object, then the text area, then small, strong, and some more also. Okay, we have already used many of them before the videos, before few minutes, and in prior videos also. So we have already been taught with these or everything. We are already knowing this, and some of these tags will be taught to you later also. Okay, I have already shown an example of an anchor tag. If you have noticed it, this HTML as well as HTML2 wherein both were in the same line continuous. Okay, and it just took the space which it needed. So the space for allocated is still here only. So these are the free spaces. If I had something else, it will be added to the line itself and it will not give any space between. Okay, that's the actual thing. Okay, and now even let's take some other examples like which we have not used. Okay, let's take an example of a button. Button is a tag. Usually you would have seen submit button or some like on a click you click some button to get something like, right? So that's the basic thing behind it. So let's use that button also. Button. Okay, wait, I'll just run and show. See, you got a button. So you can even type some values for this like submit. Okay, see, I got the value as submit. So this is a button. On this click, when I give some coding like href or something for this, even that will be submitted or will be navigated to some other page, or you'll get some other alert. We can make these things through this. Okay, now even let's see an example of input. So what's an input? You always give when you have a form something like that, you always give your feedback or some input like some data. For example, they may ask you for what's your name, what's your age, where do you live, or what do you like, something like that. So when you give some information on the box which is there, that's an input box, right? So in that input box, to create that input box, we'll make use of an input tag. Okay, input, and type is equals to text. Give any name as you need. Okay, that's all. So with just this code you will get an input space. Okay, so just save and run it. See, this is the input. Okay, see, I already told you inline will always be in same line. That's the reason it is coming in a same line, one after the another. To give a break between this, even in inline, we can do with the help of a BR tag. I have already taught you this BR. Okay, so when I give this, a break will be there, right? Okay, so there are many examples for this and we have done many of them. So if you want, we'll even take some example like text area. Okay, so what's in text area? Text area basically means giving space for more information, right? So when it comes to input, it's a very smaller space for input, right? It's just this wide, right? You can just give some name or something like that and just finish it. But when it comes to text area, the space for entering your input will be wide bigger. So text area. Okay, now let's run this. See, the space given is a wide bigger space. This is mainly used for giving a feedback or sending a message or something like entering your address, some message, some content which will give which will contain many lines, in that place we'll make use of this text area. Okay, so this is the basic thing between the block and the inline. So please keep this in mind. Always the HTML element is divided into two. One is the block and the second one is the inline. Block always starts in a new line and takes the full width available, and when it comes to inline, it does not start with a new line and it only takes up the space which has required. Okay, now let's study about layout. What is a layout? Layout is basically a container in HTML. Okay, giving a perfect position to some of the other content in a website is a layout. Okay, now let's see the definition. Okay, websites often display, it's a display, okay, content in multiple columns, like magazine or newspaper. Okay, whenever we see a website, the content is displayed in some or the other way, to make the people read it very comfortably and even to attract us, right? So for that, each and everyone makes use of this layout. It offers several semantic elements that defines the different parts of a web page. So now let's see what are those semantics. Okay, sorry. Okay, now what are the first one is the header tag. Okay, and the second one is the nav tag, which we just studied. The third one is the section tag. The fourth one is the article tag. The fifth one is the aside tag, and the sixth one is the footer tag. Okay, now what's an header? We have already been known about the header as well as the nav. Okay, I'll just give you an explanation. Defines a header for a document or a section. Okay, that is known as a header. What's a nav tag? It's also known as a navigation tag or navigation bar, right? Defines a container for navigation links. Now what's a section? Defines a section in a document. It's just giving a section, that's all. Okay, and the article defines an independent, self-contained article. Okay, article tag is mainly used to display the content in an article form. Okay, now aside defines content aside from the content. Okay, for this we can even take an example of a sidebar, or even you can take example of ads. If you would have noticed in websites, there will be an ad in the right or left or some other side of the rest all of the content. So that to make use of that, to make that display, we'll make use of an aside tag. And the next one is the footer. Footer is basically for defining the like follow links, YouTube, Facebook, something like that, or the author names and all. Okay, author name or something related to that. Okay, now let's see an example. I have already coded an example for you. Okay, this is a coding done. I'll first show you an output and then I will explain you this code as well. Okay, okay, so see, this is the output. I have created a website, something like that. Before okay, one second. Okay, so I have made use of the header. This is a container of an header. Okay, and this is of a nav tag, and I have made use of an article tag. See, this content is displayed in the form of an article, and I have made use of the footer also. Okay, so now let's see the code. See, okay, you saw that, right? CSS layout footer. So I have made that in an H2 header, and then I have given a paragraph for this. Okay, you will see that it's better. Okay, this part first, let's see this part. Okay, I have just given an header h2, and I have then given 2 paragraphs. Paragraph always starts with a new line, so it's starting with a new line. So the main part is the header. So I have created an header tag, okay, with closing as well as opening, and inside that I have given h2 cities. So the main part is here. This is the header tag or the header container, and I have given the heading as cities. Then I have made an section. I have already told you section is creating a section in a document. So I have created a section in a document for this too, for giving a nav tag as well as for an article. So this is a section, okay, this full part is a section. I'm creating this section in the full document. That's a main use of a section. Okay, so inside that I have created a nav. I have already explained you prior also. Nav is navigation bar. It's mainly used for stating the menus, right? So I have made the menus like London, Paris and Tokyo. I have given an hash, that means it will not link to anywhere. It's just it will stay in the home page itself. So I'm not giving any names or any file name or any I mean the Google paths, nothing. I'm just giving an hash so that it will be in the home page itself. Okay, then I have made use of the unordered list. Inside I have created a list. I have already taught you all this, UL as well as li. Okay, and then I have come for an article tag. So I have told you, right, displaying a content in a form of an article or to display it in an article layout is we are using the article tag. So inside the article I have made use of the h1 tag for stating it as London. See, London. And then I have made use of 2 paragraph tags, so both will be starting in a new line. Okay, and then I have even closed the article as well as section. I have made the section for nav as well as article, right? So after doing the nav and after doing the article, I have closed the section, and I have gone for the footer. Footer I have made an paragraph tag and I have just displayed it as footer, right? See here, footer. I have made this just because, but you can even keep your follow links like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, or even you can write the designer name or the author name and everything, or copyright, everything can be written in this. These are the small or minute details which can be noted by the users as well. Okay, footer always occupies the full space because it's in block. Okay, and I have already told you that these things, article and this and nav, will always occupy the space required, and header will always occupy the full width. So this is the output. So just see one thing. So we can even change these and we'll just see how it changes. So we'll change the cities to something else, or we'll change the nav tag and see what will the output for that. Okay, so I'll turn the cities to demo. Okay, and I made this to not London, Mumbai. Now, okay, like this. Okay, so now let's run this. See, it has been changed. I put an hash, so it will remain in the home page itself. It will not get navigated to any other page. Okay, so even change the footer and see. Okay, let's see footer. Okay, author. Okay, and then try to give another paragraph and let's see how it goes. Okay, and now we'll give website name. Okay, now let's run this. See, it has been increased. It has increased the height as well, but it always occupies the full width. Don't forget header and this footer. I have already explained you in the inline as well as on the block. These all occupies the full width which is available. When it comes to the nav tag or article tag, it always occupies just the space which it needs, or only the space which is required for it.
Okay, so far we have learned many things about the HTML. Now even let's know what are the drawbacks of it. Okay, so first let's know the drawback of the HTML4. We have started with the the version started from HTML1 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now it has landed to 7. HTML7 is the latest one. Okay. So now let's learn about the drawbacks of HTML4, and then later we'll even go for HTML5 also. HTML 4.01 is the most widely used version throughout the year 2000. Okay. It was released on 1990, I will even state that, but it was throughout very widely used on from the year 2000. Okay, where it was introduced official standard in December 1999. It was officially announced, or it was officially released in December 1999, and it was widely used on the year 2000. Okay. Since HTML version 1 to 4, there is many improvements. Okay, and eventually it's happened. Okay, from the version 1 to 4, when we see the version 1, it was just a few things were there, and when it come to 2, it was addition of 1, then 3 was addition of 2, then 4 was addition of 3. So from when we saw the 1 to 4, it was a wide difference, and there was many improvements, and now even now the improvements are being happening. Okay, so in this tutorial we will discuss the HTML4 drawbacks and limitations, and that improved in the HTML5 version. Okay, so I will tell you something on the drawbacks of HTML4, and those drawbacks are already improved or implemented and been successful in HTML5. Okay, so now what are the drawbacks or the limitation HTML4? Okay, now let's go for it. The first drawback, audio support. Okay, what is an audio support? In many websites you would have seen some of them giving a lecture or some intro or something like that. There's an audio support behind it, right? But when it was when the HTML4 comes in picture, there was no audio support for it. When we are already using Sublime, right? So see, there's a tag as audio, but this tag or something like this, the concept like this was not there in HTML4, and this was even brought up or even covered in HTML5, but in 4 this was a big drawback. Okay, now let's see another one. Okay, actual what's the concept I didn't tell. You can't, I'm so sorry, add audio to a web page with a single tag in HTML4. Okay, the next drawback was using of JavaScript. Basically, JavaScript is we use for animation or giving some designs, or even it is used for some like gaming and all. But when it came to HTML4, it was very difficult for using JavaScript in HTML4. Using JavaScript for animation, drawing, and other features was the toughest task. It was really very tough for using the JavaScript for animation or drawing or some other tasks which are related to JavaScript. It was really very tough in HTML4 to do it. Okay, and the next one is video support. It's the same like audio. It was not able to add any video with a single tag. Okay, you can't add video with a single tag in the website. Okay, and same as the audio, it was not able to add the video also. And the next drawback is adding external plugins. Okay, in HTML4 there was no support for Medio, so for that reason we were supposed to add external plugins. For example, Adobe Flash Player, you would have noticed that in some websites when you just go on to it, you will get an alert like Adobe Flash Player is not there or not supported, right? You would have noticed it. That's the reason for this. So HTML4 has this drawback. For that we need to add some external plugins, and which is not really very easy. Okay, requires external plugins to run Flash or media controls. Okay, and the next one is that very few input controls are available. Very few in the sense, I even saw you, I even told you about the input tag, right? So in that we had a attribute like type. In that type will be inserted as type is equals to text, right? So in HTML4 there are only few of it, like type is equals to text or password or submit, and we even have that text area tag. Apart from that, there's no such or no more controls for it. But when it comes to HTML5, 6 and 7, more of the tags are added to it, and it is more user friendly and all, like email are added and some more also added. I will let you know in the upcoming sections. Okay, and the next and the last one is the 2 or 3D supports. Okay, 2D or 3D supports is mainly or basically for the gaming, right? So that functionality is not supported in this HTML4, which is again a drawback, because of which the gaming functions or creating a game in very user friendly or very good GUI will be very difficult. Does not support 2D and 3D animations. Okay, these are the drawbacks of the HTML4, and these drawbacks are even brought up or improved in the upcoming versions as 5, 6 and 7. So we will even see it later. Okay, now let's learn the difference between the HTML5 and the HTML4. Okay, first let's talk about the version. HTML5 is the extension of HTML4. Okay, it is the 5th version of HTML. Okay, and when it goes to HTML4, it is the 4th version of HTML. Okay, now let's go for the simplicity. HTML is very simple compared to HTML4. Example, where we saw that doc type HTML, right? This one. Doc type HTML. When it comes to HTML4, it is very complex compared to this. Okay, it's I think it's about 2 to 3 lines of this doc type will be there. I'll even show you that. Doc type HTML, then comes public, and then comes in inverted commas double slash W3C, and then again slash slash, it's 3. Okay, then DTD, then HTML, then 4.0.1, and then slash EN. Okay, and then again we'll go out of this inverted comma, and then again an inverted comma, http www.w3.org, and then slash tr, and then again a slash html4, and then slash stri, and then again ct.dtt. Oh my god, see, this is a big thing of, let's give a enter here. Okay, So I break it in lines, but this full is one code. Okay, don't forget that. In place of just two words, doc type HTML in inside and tag, in HTML4 we are supposed to write this full line. Okay. Now let's go to the next one, malformed documents. HTML provides consistency in malformed documents. Consistency, okay, in malformed documents. It is better for error handling. Okay, and when it comes to HTML4, it does not support. Provides better error handling like HTML. Okay. Okay, I'll repeat this again. Malformed documents. HTML5 provides consistency in malformed documents. It is better for error handling than HTML4 because HTML4 does not provide better error handling. Now let's go to the next one. That's the new tags. Okay. When it comes to new tag, it has many new tags which was not present in HTML4. I already told you about the drawbacks of HTML5. I mentioned about the video as well as the audio tag, right? Here this video as well as the audio tag is added along with some canvas tag also. Okay, so like this many tags are added for overcoming the drawbacks which was present in the HTML4. Okay, and these tags were not provided in HTML4. I already mentioned this. Not. Okay, now let's go to the last one, that's the multimedia elements. Multimedia support provided by HTML5. Here I even mentioned this in the drawbacks of HTML4. There was no media controls which was provided in HTML4, but here multimedia is being provided in HTML5. Okay, and it is not present in HTML4. In HTML4, these support are provided by third party like Silverlight and Flash. I even gave you an example of Adobe Flash, right? So for making use of this multimedia, we need an external plugin, so that's a third party interaction like Silverlight and Flash. Third party. Okay, this is all about the difference between them. So everything or the drawbacks of HTML4 were really covered in HTML5, and it was really very complex to work with HTML4 as I mentioned for JavaScript, right? So each and everything is being made simple, and that's the reason HTML5 is known as simplicity. And even the error handling is very user friendly, or it is very consistent to make use of it. And the drawbacks like video was not there, audio was not there, and some other tags which were really very important were not there, were even added in HTML5, and the multimedia support was also there in HTML5. So there's no third party interaction.